Yeah, it was, I think it was an unknown quantity for the South Africans. They would have had some practice, but, not used to the pink ball, not used to day-night test match cricket, so it was a new thing for them. And upon winning the toss, Faf du Plessis looked at the pitch and, by all accounts, it looked like a good surface, a good Adelaide surface and good for batting. And he decided, regardless of it being a pink ball test or not, he was going to have first use of the surface.
Would Faf have been concerned with that new-look Australian side?
I think probably yes, because he wouldn't have seen too much of those players. He had a very quick glimpse of 3 debutants at Hobart, and then he's got some more debutants in the third test match. That was the surprising thing to me. I know Steve Smith come out and said, the baggy green and the resilience we've got to show, and a little bit embarrassed to be here after Hobart. There are going to be changes. But I, for one, never thought that 3 of the guys who were making their debut would get dropped after one game. But that's what happened. So I think Faf, to a certain extent, would have thought, well, okay, they're new guys. Have we studied them? Or they must be better than the other guys that played. But a little bit worried. But he won the toss, looked a good batting wicket, and correct decision in taking first strike.
Well, South Africa 259 for 9 declared. That was a big surprise for a lot of us.
Yeah, well, we talked about it off air actually when we were discussing it, and it's Faf's a canny cricketer. He knows what's going on. He's aware of the bits and bobs, the ebbs and flows of a game, and he was aware that Warner had gone off the field, had a shoulder injury, and realised that if he declared at that particular time that Warner wouldn't be able to open the batting, and he's one of the key players. So with the inexperienced side, your top gunner batter not being able to bat, he thought, well, hold on, it's the best time to bowl in the test matches in this twilight zone. They're on a bit of a low because him and Shamsi were belting around the park a bit, and their best batter can't bat. So adding up all those 3 things, he decided to follow through. So it's all very well thinking about it as a captain, and everyone around would, if he had carried on batting and waited till they were bowled out, would have said nothing. But for him to actually follow through on that sort of information was a courageous thing to do, and probably the right thing to do.
Mike Proctor, we must talk about Faf's resilience, because obviously after all that entire controversy, he came in and he scored an unbeaten century.
Yeah, under trying circumstances, as you say. It must be very disappointing coming out to bat with a large crowd, and the crowd booing a South African captain. I mean, that's showing a little bit of disrespect for the decisions that were made by the ICC, finding him guilty. And he walked out nonchalantly, a little bit nonchalantly, and I thought he looks a bit casual about things, but that inner determination showed the character of the man. He knuckled down and played almost a faultless innings. I mean, 118 not out, and then rightly, I think, at that stage, declaring, with South Africa having a chance to bowl 10 or 12 overs in the evening, and then obviously getting 2 bites of the cherry. A new ball, 10, 12 overs, and then bowlers are fresh for the next morning. So in hindsight, it's easy to say he shouldn't have declared. But at that time, I think it was the right decision.
And Hazelwood, often overshadowed by Stark, came in and took 4 for 68.
He did. He bowled really well. I just want to go back to what you said, Procky, on the toss. Do you think in retrospect maybe they should have bowled first? I look at it from 2 points of view. And the first being that they just knocked him over in Hobart twice cheaply. 2 big collapses. So you want to put the batting unit under pressure again, particularly with 3 debutants, which we've talked about. So you get a few quick wickets. Suddenly you've got all new young faces. They're going to be under pressure again. And also that South Africa have never played a day-night test with a pink ball. They've seen the history of Adelaide. Do you not think that in that first morning, you talk about Josh Hazelwood came in, they nipped it around a bit, that if they would have bowled first and suddenly had Australia 4 for 60, might have been a different ball game?
Yeah, that is a possibility. But I always think in a test match, you want to see how much juice is in the pitch to start with. And that particular track looked devoid of green, new grass, juicy grass. And I think that what Faf would have done would been to look at the end result, to say, okay, what's it going to be like in day 4, afternoon of day 4 and day 5? Can we sort of nullify this opening hour or 2 on a good batting pitch, and then score enough runs to put pressure on the Australian batsmen come day 4 or 5, when the wicket and a history of Adelaide as well does get up and down and moves a bit sideways because of indentations in the turf. So to answer your question, no, I think he did the right decision.
And what a response from Australia. 383, Usman Khawaja, 145, Smith, Hanscom and Stark, all scoring 50s. Kumba, you did talk about the importance of a partnership.
Yeah, huge. I think that when South Africa batted first, they had the opportunity. Cook was in there, he was on 40. Captain Du Plessis was there, and they'd batted to lunch, rescued the situation from sort of 40 for 3. They were 90 for 3 now. Then straight after the break, Cook gets out, and they lost the ability to build that partnership. So, similar sort of pattern in the Australia innings, but this time partnership was built, and the captain, Steve Smith, had a point to prove. Khawaja was batting really well, and they were able to put that partnership together. I think that was key in this whole Test match.
And Hazelwood had a fiver, had a hash 5 times.
A fifer, yeah, he did. 5 times. Poor old Hash didn't have the best of series. But just going back to your point about Steve Smith, he was the guy that came out and made the statements in Hobart about resilience and feeling a little bit embarrassed to be around. So talk about under pressure. I think he was probably under more pressure than Faf du Plessis coming out to bat there, because he's the Australian captain. He's got to show resilience. He's got to show character. And there's one way, if you're a captain, is leading by example. And if he had not scored some runs and got out early, that would have made it really, really tough for him. But he showed his character as well. I think he got 2 good characters out there, the 2 captains.
Mitch Starc, I think he showed incredible character, scoring a 53 as well towards
Hugely
the end.
Important, those runs. But before him, the debutant Peter Hanscom. So he came in, he got a half century as well, and valuable runs from Starc down the bottom there. And if they'd scored, 50 or 60 less, and that lead had only been 60, it would have been a totally different ball game. But those were very valuable runs, and just gave them enough of a lead, that 120, to make it very difficult for the South Africans to get back in the game.
But you've got to have a little bit of luck in cricket. Hanscom came in. When did he come in? He came in, 10, 12, 15 overs before the second new ball. So you're always going to try to rest the faster bowlers. And I think Dean Elgar came on to bowl then. The spinners were bowling. The wicket wasn't doing anything. And he managed to play himself in. And he had sort of 30 or 40 before the second new ball was due. And eventually got bowled out with the second new ball, having scored a very good 50, don't get me wrong. And then you got the other guy, Madison, coming in, with the ball obviously a lot newer and a lot more pressure than the other guy had done. So you've got to have a bit of luck.
Yeah, he came at the worst time, Madison. That was under lights, twilight zone, Rabada hitting his straps, got a perler of a delivery. So, tough for him on his debut, and didn't have a chance second innings, Madison. But I'm sure with a victory in this Test match, they don't want to change your winning side, and those youngsters will get another crack.
South Africa scoring 250 in their second innings. At Cook scoring a century, and Amla 45.
Yeah, Amla was looking good, really good second innings, and I thought, here we go, they're going to do Perth all over again, score 300, 400, and suddenly, Australia have got it all to do to win this Test match. So it was looking really good, and Cook was playing how Cook can play, playing from the crease and picking off the balls on the leg side. So it looked like if they could stick together and build a partnership, again, we talk about a partnership, that, something could materialise. But Amla again, 2 Hazelwood, you talk about 5 times, this with the 5th time, caught behind, fencing it one outside the off stump that, probably should have left alone, probably shouldn't have played that. And that was the end of that. And I think that was a turning point as well in that South African second innings.
So Amla has really struggled, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. We talked about that off stump, and he's got out caught behind, caught it slip. Defending, attacking, and I noticed a difference in his technique from the first Test match to the third Test match. He always gets his right foot back in front of off stump, middle and off stump, and then plays from there. That now changed in Hobart, from Hobart to where we have here in Adelaide. That back foot, right back foot, was going almost outside off stump. So his technique had changed. So to answer your question, it obviously was worrying him because he hadn't got runs. But he did look good in the second innings. Yeah. And then, he referred a caught behind when we've argued the point, did he know or didn't? I reckon he probably didn't know. You say he did know. But he got 40-odd, looked good, and unfortunately got out again to the same bowler, 5 in a row.
And that lead or target rather, of 126 by South Africa, clearly not a challenge for the Aussies.
No, it wasn't. I mean, you never know what might have happened. We talked about that new ball being all important, and if they had managed to get 2 or 3 wickets in those first 10 overs, 12 overs, then it would have been a different ball game. But Renshaw played really well. I mean, he was pretty slow. But he did his job, and he blunted that new ball. Warner played as only Warner can play, and once they got to 40 or 50, I think that the writing was on the wall that unless there was a catastrophic collapse, that they had it in the bag. So it probably wasn't enough, and they probably would have, if it had been around about that 200, 220 mark, it might have been a different ball game. But 126, not enough in the end. And
I think again, their kingpin batter, Warner. I mean, he takes the game away from you, and if South Africa had got him out early, with that new ball when it was cherry ripe within sort of 10, 15 runs. I think it might have been a different ball game. Suddenly Australia would have been under huge pressure. But Warner played so well. He scores at such a quick rate that the other guy can just almost block without really looking for runs. And he was compact, but he hit the bad balls. Not that there were many bad balls, but he makes a goodish ball. Look at bad ball, where the ordinary players are goodish balls, a goodish ball. And he dominated that second innings and really took the game totally away from South Africa.
And Abbott wasn't his usual self-line length. Those were not factors in this innings.
On the second innings, he was a bit off his game. Bowled really well in the first innings. Make no mistake, was unlucky not to end up with 5 wickets. I think he just carried on from where he left off in Hobart. But second innings, was a bit erratic. He came back in his second spell, got rid of the captain and started hitting his straps, but it was too little too late. I think in his first spell, his initial spell, just wasn't as pinpoint as he had been in the rest of the series.
So a 2-1 series win over the Aussies, and the Proteas are full of confidence. And while Steve Smith and his team are left searching for answers, they will, however, take many positives from the Adelaide Test moving forward into the summer. This series has really been a great advertisement for Test cricket. We have seen some exceptional bowling, as well as some rugged batting from both sides.
Yeah, it has been a really good series, there's no doubt about it. It's been very intriguing, it's been attritional, it's been played between two very good sides. South Africa have shown the abundance of talent they have. They've played all the pressure points really well. Their big players have stepped up when the occasion has demanded. And the youngsters have proved that South African cricket's in really good hands. From the Australian perspective, disappointed the first 2 Test matches. They really played poorly. They made changes. Their youngsters now have been given an opportunity. They won the last Test match, and time will tell if their youngsters can stand up to the plate as the South Africans have.
Yeah, a very entertaining Test series. 3 Test matches full of intrigue. Dominated by South Africa, winning the series 2-1, and deservedly so. Very good batting, some excellent bowling. And also one of the highlights which we don't see too often is so many slip catches which were caught in the last Test. Very good catching. But what it was a great advert for Test cricket.
Certainly. We'll trust you have enjoyed the series as much as we have in the Cresa Sports studio. Keep switched on and logged on to Cresa Sports for more exciting live sport. From all the crew behind the scenes to make this broadcast possible, and to my 2 guests, it's a big thank you for watching and enjoying this series with us. Goodbye.
Edge and taken. It's taken a first slip. And guess who? Oh, is that an inside edge? It is! Oh, he's got him. I love this day-night Test cricket. It's a shot and a half back. 100 to Sabre. For Faf du Plessis, an innings of character. That is one strong man. Look at that. And Smith stranded. De Kock gets the throw. It's a cut shot. It's thrown. Open the batting for Australia. And has done the job. There you go, what a way to go to 50. First time out. Bowled in, that's the end for Peter Hanscom. He'll hit that well. And that will be 50 for Mitchell Stark. Oh, and second grab. It's a really good start for the Aussies. Oh, he's got him. Yes, he's got him. That's the one! Nathan Lyon, you beauty! Short ball, it's in the gap. He's got it. What a moment for Stephen Cook. Oh, and he's bowled the Centurion. Oh, there's a mix-up. Oh, it's an edge, he walks off. Come on, Peter. He's got it! There it is, Australia's victory. A lot of interest in this. That's 4 more. Oh, that's a beauty. That's a beauty.